Okay, so welcome back. In today's video, I'm gonna quickly give you a little summary about what try and accept actually is. Okay, so after this video, I'm gonna also release a video where I did a little project, so a small program which shows you exactly how try and accept can be used in a real program scenario. Okay, but in this video, all I'm going to do is just summarize what it actually does and how to use it. Okay, so in Python, when you run code and something just doesn't work, okay, so there's either a syntax error, so that's when you've not followed the rules of Python, so you've not followed the rules of how to write Python, okay, so how to write the Python code, okay, so then it will cause an error. Okay, so that's, for example, if you misspell a keyword or something like that. But then you can also have these things called runtime errors. So runtime errors are basically when Python tries to execute a line of code that you've written, let's say with an input from the user, but then when it tries to do that, it then fails. Okay, so it causes an error, or it causes what we call it raising an exception. So that's what Python does. So when Python raises an exception, after that line of code where it's raised the exception, nothing else will run. So for example, if you try to run a piece of code and you've got an error, after that it doesn't run anything, right? Unless you handle the exception. You have to be able to you see the exception, Python sees the exception, and then you do something with that so that it can keep running, okay? So I'm just going to show you that now. So the way try and accept actually works is you try a certain thing, okay? So I'll just do num equals, input enter a number. Okay, and num equals float now. So what this is going to try and do is it's going to try and cast what the user has entered, try and convert it to a float. Okay. Now let's say that when the program tries to do this line, this is where there's an error. So let's say the user, which I'm taking in a string input by the way, so this string is going to try and get converted to a float, okay? And in fact, I don't even have to do that actually. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to straight away convert this to a float. So that should do the same thing, okay? And let's say when Python is trying to execute this line of code, let's say the user has entered a word, so it's rendered like hello or something like that. It tries to do this, but then of course an error will happen, okay, because you can't convert a string to a float, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to write the code keyword accept here. Now this here you can specify an error which you want Python to handle. So for example, if you try and divide by 0, there's a 0 division error. If you try and convert, for example, a string to a float, I think you get a value error, although I can't always remember the errors that you get. So if you can't always remember, or you don't know what error Python will show up, or you don't really mind, you just don't want any errors, so any error occurs, you just want it to handle it straight away, you can just put nothing here. You can just put colon, and it will accept every single error that comes up. It will run what you write here, okay? So here what we're going to do is we're going to say if there's an error here, we assume that it's just going to be that the user has entered something that's not a number, okay? So all this will just say please enter a number, okay? That's all it is, okay? And we can just enhance this a little bit further if we just say valid equals false, and we're going to say while, we can either say while valid is equal to false, or another way we can do it is we can say while not valid, okay, just like that. And we can just indent this, it will keep trying this code. Okay, now let's say that this line of code executes as intended. It will then go to the next line of code. So then the next line of code can be valid equals true, and that will take us out of the while loop, so this won't execute again. Okay, if they've not entered a number, we don't have to do anything. This will stay false. Okay, let's give it a try really quick, and we'll do enter a number. I'm going to enter number 6. There we go, we're finished. Okay, let's say I enter another number, or let's say I enter this. This is not a number, so it asks for it again. So 90. There we go. So as you can see, let's say something happens here, it goes straight to this part here. But if nothing happens, then it keeps going on with this, and then it will, let's say there's something after that. Okay. Once this is up, once this is finished, it will then go straight to this. Okay. That's it. That's all for today. So that's the try and accept summary. Thanks for watching, and make sure you take a look at the next video to try and see how try and accept is actually implemented in a project sense.